Hey everybody, it's Cory from CoryBakerFilmmaker.com, and I just saw The Lighthouse, written by Max Eggers and Robert Eggers, and directed by Robert Eggers. So I caught this flick at the AMC Universal City Walk Theater. Good. It was in one of their smaller theaters, but it's very comfortable. It's very nice. I would say that the talking was not great, though it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, like during the opening credits and stuff like that. But I've had problems with that there before because it's a very touristy theater. So go at your own peril if that's something that really bothers you. Onto The Lighthouse. It's a story that's told with basically just the two characters, just Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Willem Dafoe is the lighthouse keeper. Robert Pattinson is sort of like a sailor who's supposed to stay with him and sort of like help tend the lighthouse. And it's just like a very trippy, film schooly kind of tale of two people in black and white and 1.19 to 1 aspect ratio. It's hard to get into. I kind of did a half-assed job recapping what the movie's about, but it's kind of hard to say anything about this movie without like starting to get into it. It's a very inside baseball kind of movie. So I would argue that if okay, so right at this moment we're switching up how this review is going to be seen. I'm going to be doing it in the same shooting style as The Lighthouse. And every once in a while you're going to hear like a foghorn and stuff like that, just randomly when I need to make a point of emphasis. This is what it's like to watch The Lighthouse. There is a bare minimum of are you going to enjoy this or are you not that I think comes with whether or not you should go see this movie. I would say beyond anything, I'm glad this movie exists because I like the fact that people are still allowed to like make sort of weird experimental films like this and it get released into theaters. Like that's something in the age of Marvel that we should all be happy about. But it's a tough row to hoe because it is I think it's sort of very much in the vein of a movie where anything you want to believe about it can be true. Like I don't think it's I really don't think at the end of the day there's like some Bible out there that explains every single little piece of what this movie means. I think it's all interpretive. It's all on how the audience is to take it. And what leads me to that is that there are a lot of things that happen throughout the course of the movie which just sort of like are meant to set the audience in a particular mood. So Willem Dafoe farts like all the time. And it's one of those things that's sort of there to break the tension. So if when the audience laughs at the fart, it sort of like gets, it makes you feel like that however this film makes you feel is how you're supposed to take it. I guess is basically the easiest way for me to explain. And if you go with a very say you go out on a movie date with somebody. It doesn't have to be like boyfriend, girlfriend. It could just be like a friend of yours or whatever. But you go on a movie date. Afterwards, you get some dinner. This is a cool movie to go see and then talk to that person if they're like really smart and engaging about what they thought about the movie. And I think that if everyone is okay with the fact that it looks and sounds like this, then you'll be all right with like you'll find some way to talk about this movie in a smart and engaging way. If you're not, just I wouldn't even bother seeing it. That being all that being said, like sort of getting out the incidentals up front, it's a really cool movie, and I like the way that it's shot, and I like the way that it's created. I like the tension. It feels very earned. By shooting it in the smaller aspect ratio, you get lots of opportunities where things have way more size in the frame. Like, like the Lighthouse, which normally to get into like a, normal movie theater projection would have all this space on the sides. It's just like taken up. But in this, it's just like the Lighthouse is right there. It's right in the center of the shot. There's not a whole lot of other atmosphere that's going around it. It makes it look very intimidating and brooding. And so often we'll get Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson on two different sides of the screen. And because there's literally black bars that cover up the sides of the screen, you get these moments where they're back to back against, like, the moment is all in there. And it doesn't change it's not shooting everything in absurd close-ups. It's giving the actors space to move around the frame, but it still feels very constrictive. I mean, the other thing is that, like, much like I didn't see The Witch. My father told me he didn't like it, so I didn't see it. But this one was apparently similar in the fact that the language used was very appropriate for sailors at the turn of the century, or for witches and Salem and like way back when. And I think the sound team does a good job. I think that there were a lot of decisions made by Robert Eggers about sort of having things be in the moment and not necessarily every single line being like crystal clear. And I think that's part of the intention. And it's hard to it's hard sometimes when you're listening carefully at what somebody's saying. You're like, wait, what was that? What was that word you just? Because like it feels like it adds to the confusion that this whole movie sort of builds upon itself, because you never are supposed to feel like, comfortable or easy about it. It's all very nervous. I don't know. Like I think overall, like everybody worked just the way they were supposed to. All the departments did what they were supposed to do. I thought the thing was edited very nicely. I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit shorter, but feel in the room, sometimes you sort of got to just see how it plays out. And I don't know, like I really dig Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. The two of them together were great, and they both were at the top of their game here. And I think that each one of them deserves to be nominated for something. I don't know if it happens. I don't think that they would actually like sort of muscle their way in. It's sort of hard to figure out in this year's Academy Awards what movies are guaranteed and what movies aren't. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson in this movie are like, like if it's like Pippen and Jordan right now. They do incredible, like all out there, balls to the wall performances. They're both incredible, and they're both just like neck and neck who's bringing it out. At the end, I would give Willem Dafoe like the acting attaboy on this one, because he just went fucking out there in this thing, and he's incredible. So that comes, and I really dig that Robert Pattinson, after sort of making his name in the Twilight series, has just gone out and done whatever he thinks is interesting and challenging to him. And I think that he has a lot of promise to turn in some truly remarkable roles over the course of his career. I think the movie might not be thought of as fondly as the acting performances within it. I think we'll remember Dafoe and Pattinson more in having been in this movie and being good than any specifics about what happens with this movie. There she is, the leaderboard. It's leaderboard time. Once again, another one on the list for the Universal City Walk. Nice theater, very touristy, but enjoyable. So go ahead, especially if you have stubs. Like I wouldn't pay for it if it was just like regular, because it's like $24, and then you got to pay for parking, and that whole thing is ridiculous. I pay $5 for parking. I get in there for free because of the AMC Stubbs A list. So that's the way to go if you have that. On to the movie leaderboard. This movie is so out there. And like it's like I know the people who I could recommend this movie to, and I know the people who I absolutely would not recommend this movie to. And I don't want either one of these people to sort of like take this review as like, or this rating as like a one way or the other. I think that if you're interested and you think that this movie might, you want to have that like movie date situation like I talked about, and bring a smart friend and just have a dinner afterwards and talk it out. I think anyone could be good for this movie and under those circumstances. But I think if you're just going to go in and hate it, then there's not really a point in seeing it. Like at a certain point, I know I'm just not going to like things, and I don't want to see the movie and not like it and just be a bump in the log. Like, don't do that for this movie. If you really don't think you're going to like it, if you really don't want to watch Black and White and all this stuff that we've been doing, don't do it. You're not going to enjoy yourself. You're going to have a bad time. But then also I don't want like the arty people to like look at this and be like, well, really what they were saying with this movie and blah, 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 blah. And it should be a 9.8 on your scale because it's so, daring and like it was good. It just wasn't like everything that I would want it to be. It was incredible acting. It was very new and original and different, but it didn't have that little bit that made it right. Anyway, if I have to give it a rating, I would give The Lighthouse 7.7. I think that if you're one of those people who's a completionist and you want to see like everything that's going to be nominated for an Academy Award, this won't be nominated for Best Picture. Just too heavy of a field. There's some sort of weird universe where this movie hits at the right time and the right people see it, and then they start talking about it, and just a couple choices were different, and maybe it's just sort of like one of those like, Black Horse Oscar contenders, but it's not. It's just not quite good enough. But the acting is there, so they're gonna get nominated for anything. It's Willem Dafoe, it's Robert Pattinson, maybe some odd like lower key Oscars, but like those two would be the best chance for this picture. And if you're going to see it for an acting performance, then these two are well worth the price of admission. But yeah, that's it. Anywho, if you want more, you can go to my website, CoryBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoryBakerFilm, or at LegendsCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Still haven't seen El Camino. We've actually been rewatching Breaking Bad, so I figured I would watch it after that, so I have a little bit more like feeling for it, like sort of read into it. But there's a whole bunch of great things coming out that I definitely want to see and do reviews on, and I'm trying to do another review on Thursday and then another one on Monday, so stay tuned, because that is coming. Like, share, subscribe, do all those things, because they all help immensely. And yep, that's it. Now, if you don't mind, I have to get all the barnacles off the front of my ship before I set sail for a journey of questionable length.